Halloween Horror Nights 31. What a perfect year to return back for a full-fledged event. Featuring icons from the past, featuring great houses, great shows, great theming, except for one factor. To understand why Gorewood Forest was such a failure, we kind of have to go back into the past to understand why Terra Queen was important to Halloween Horror Nights and why she was important to this year. And if you didn't know, Terra Queen was one of the icons of Halloween Horror Nights Tales of Terror back in 2005. And the reason why I say icons, because, well, that year there was actually two icons. Terra Queen herself and the Storyteller was basically created as a marketing scheme, so that way they can have something kind of to throw in the commercials and advertisements. This was the first time that all the houses in the scare zones were linked to a larger event backstory. They would later on do this back 2018 for Bloody Mary, when they kind of tied everything to the world of Bloody Mary. And they also tried to do it back in 21, I believe, with Lady Luck. They tried to tie in that whole factor into all the houses, even the IP houses, which was really, really cool. So the Terra Queen ruled over Terra Queen, and I'm probably going to butcher these names. Forgive me in advance. She actually had a motorcycle and she stalked the land, basically giving out commands to her guards and other followers. And she actually had a ritual, a sacrifice done every single night of the event, in which would end in a bloody sacrifice. What's important to note is that Terra Queen herself did not speak. She only made hissing, growling noises. She shrieked. She had an interpreter who was also featured in the new scare zone, or the return scare zone, Gorewood Forest. Eelmouth was the character that you saw basically being hung. Now, that's a little confusion. We'll talk about that later on when we get to Gorewood Forest in 2021. Why things don't really make sense. But the ultimate sacrifice happened in 2005 at Tales of Terror at Halloween Horror Nights on Halloween night, where the Terra Queen herself was sacrificed. Now, it was stated that she would return one day, approximately about 16 years, with the pandemic and stuff going on. So anyway, she was returned to Halloween Horror Nights 30, but that was scrapped into Halloween Horror Nights 31, in which she returned to Gorewood Forest. Now, she is actually listed by Halloween Horror Nights as one of the icons of the event, just like Jack, Chance, Lady Luck, Eddie. She is an actual icon of the event, not so much so like Bone Daddy or the Voodoo Queen, where they're sort of not really icons, but they kind of have that icon status, but they're not icons. She is actual icon. Not so much a theme overall of the event, because, well, Jack took that role in leading us to Halloween Horror Nights 31. He was the icon, he was everywhere in the park, and here we were left with Terra Queen just taking over Central Park. Now, to dive into the history of the Central Park Scare Zone, so you have an idea, if you would know, that scare zone has been a hit and has been a miss a lot of times. Vikings Undead was the scare zone last year. In my opinion, that was a failure. But then they had Twisted Tradition, and they also had Trick or Treat, which was good. Lair of the Banshee, which was decent. Evil Roots, Bayou of Blood. So those are some really standout good scare zones that they've had. They've been known to do very good in this location. For some odd reason, they just kind of had a bad run, or at least these last few years. Now, some would probably blame that on just the sheer traffic that Central Park gets, because it's a lot of people. A lot of people are leaving from the Lagoon show. A lot of people are heading from the back of the park. It's a cluster. And I do miss those days where it wasn't so busy in that zone and it was very free range. And now it just feels like it's traffic like this, and the scare zone, like, actors can't really come out and do anything because they are kind of forced to kind of stay on the side. Gorewood Forest, I think overall, the design, if they took that and put it into a house, would have been a really good house. But let's read the synopsis on the zone to see if it fit with what we got. The heartless Terra Queen is back, and her wicked plans to remake the world in her terrifying image will take root in Central Park, transforming it into a grisly Gorewood Forest. Guests will find nowhere to hide except the exit from her menacing minions. Like the little yellow guys that like bananas?
Banana.
Hey, be quiet, be quiet. As they harvest fresh blood to feed her ever-growing power. So, there's a lot of things that could be said about this zone. Eelmouth was hung as a sacrifice. I get that part, but nothing was explained to us about why Eelmouth was killed. Why was he hung? What happened between Terra Queen and him? Did he try to rule over the land? Was she mad about her sacrifice? I don't personally get it. I don't dive into the drama between the characters. I'm just kind of confused, just like you are. Also, to note, she did have a really cool motorcycle back then. In 2005, you can actually hear the motorcycle if you stood somewhere in the zone around her entrance and you listen over the speaker. That was kind of a little cool nod that you can hear the motorcycle. Would have been actually cooler to actually see the motorcycle, but no motorcycle. The knuckle grunts, which was cool looking, they would be cool looking in the house, not really so menacing or scary in the zone. They would just kind of come out and do like that, and not really scary. Like, when I think of Terra Queen myself, I think of like an allure, ambience of Halloween Horror Nights, someone that's talked about for many, many years. Not the icons that we've seen every single year or every 4 or 5 years. We see these icons over and over again. We've seen them to death. Terra Queen, we've only seen that one time, and this was her returning year, and that's what they gave us. I will say that the Stilt Walkers dug them. Their design on their mask was really, really cool. If you caught a glimpse of it, it was the Terra Queen like symbol that they had hung up. Like, it was kind of in the shape of their mask. Good note on you for that portion. Really good entrance to the scare zone, pulling you in with Terra Queen being up there and the big hanging prop and the skulls. They really upgraded the lighting from last year. But overall, I just gotta say, I think Gorewood Forest was kind of a failure. For Terra Queen being as big as an icon and being from the past and that she was coming back, this is what they gave us. That's just my thoughts, my opinion. I wanted to kind of do a deconstruction on Halloween Horror Nights 31. And if you want to know all about some of the permits that have been filed already, they're starting work in these sound stages right now. So watch this video to see more about that. And if you enjoy these type of videos, let me know so I can do more of them, talking about some of the houses, some of the theories, some of the rumors, and really doing a deeper dive on Halloween Horror Nights